Marketing goals are the basis of all marketing strategies and require clear, actionable, and achievable metrics in order to reach your marketing goals and also to reach your overall business goals and strategy. In this episode of Beyond the Logo, we were going to discuss a number of things such as goal planning, goal categories, how to determine KPIs or your key performance indicators, current top priorities for marketers as we hail in 2022, communication tactics, and how marketing is expanding. So, we've got a lot to talk about. Don't go away. We will be right back. If you're just joining us, welcome to Beyond the Logo with Nancy and Bridgetti. I'm your host, Bridgetti Banda from Cape Town in South Africa. And our stream today is brought to you by StreamYard, Lockhart Marketing, and Be Live Media. But a special warm welcome to you, our audience. And we're kicking off by saying hello to Chris de Bover. And Chris, welcome and hello there in Belgium. Welcome to the show. Great to have you with us today. So whether you are joining us over on Amazon Live, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, an awesome welcome to the show. Do know that I am monitoring the comments. So I've got my iPhone here. If you're watching us over on Amazon Live, I am monitoring the comments. If you're watching us on the other platforms, I've got my eye on it. So we are always happy to give people a shout out on the show because we are talking all about marketing goals for your business and how you can achieve them. My amazing co-host is Nancy Lockhart. Nancy is the founder of Lockhart Marketing, and she's also a #1 best-selling author. Now, Nancy's worked with some of the most iconic brands out there, such as Target, Kaiser Permanente, Medtronic, and she leverages her knowledge and expertise to help successful women and the men who support them to rebrand and brand themselves to become more profitable, successful, and purpose driven. Her book, Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore, is a testament to the resiliency of women from around the globe. Nancy is also the executive advisor for the University of California, Santa Barbara Customer Experience Program. Now, on this show, Beyond the Logo, we're all about helping you level up on your marketing. And a huge part of marketing is live video these days, live video and live events. And so you do want to look your best on camera. And so before I invite Nancy on to the screen with me, there's just a couple of recommendations to help you level up on your live events or live marketing. For example, I use the Logitech Brio camera, and my very first camera was this old Logitech camera. I think it's a C270 or something like that. And although it was great at the time, it's made huge improvements. And right now, I use the Logitech Brio with its trademarked Right Light HDR technology, which means any kind of lighting conditions, it'll be fantastic. So I really, really recommend it. I use the C920 and the C922 as well. And so the Brio is kind of the top of the range now. So highly, highly, highly recommend that you look into the Logitech Brio. And when it comes to sound, Nothing will make people tune out faster than if they can't hear you very well. And so I use the Samsung um, condenser microphone. Incidentally, Samsung was the very first company to manufacture a USB studio condenser microphone. So it's got a very solid die-cast construction, and that reduces noise vibrations, which makes it great for live streaming. But not everybody wants a huge microphone or needs one. So, as an alternative, you can also use the Rode Lavalier that I recommend, which is a clip on microphone. It works fantastic. And this little thingy on top there um, helps with any sound issues that you may have. So, for the Samsung, you could use that windshield, and you also get this little goodie, which is called the dead cat. So for if you're outside doing outside broadcasting on your phone, and you can, to avoid those noises from wind, etc., this is what will take care of that. And then also, if you're using your mobile phone, the last thing you want to do is make people dizzy. So the way to get around that is to use something like the DJI Osmo, which is a 3-axis smartphone gimbal. It will stabilize your phone so that you don't make people dizzy while they are watching. Alternatively, I also recommend the iographer, which you can also mount on your tripod. So those are the kind of just a handful of the things that I recommend if you want to level up on your live streaming and your marketing. So let's get back to marketing goals. Our marketing goals are the basis of all marketing strategies, and they require clear, actionable, achievable metrics. So, with that, let me not waste any more time and invite my co host onto the show. So, welcome, Nancy. How are you today?
You
It's so great to see you. And we've
you
got
as well.
so much to talk about today. Oh my goodness.
We do, and I really think it's important. All of the tools that you just presented, we're going to really talk about how um, the live streaming digital marketing has such a huge impact for us moving into 22. It has in the past, but now we're just seeing such a resurgence of that being part of a successful marketing strategy as we move forward, not only just in communication, but data, planning. There's so much richness there. So I highly recommend pay attention to what Bridgetti is offering and recommending, because you will want that as part of your marketing strategy. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we move forward.
Mm. Well, I think let's not waste any more time because there's quite a few things that we want to cover in our live stream today. And I also just want to give a shout out to Corinda over on Amazon Live. And he says that he's also just gone live on Amazon. So,
Excellent.
congratulations
Well
um,
done.
on achieving that. Well done to you. Um, so let's dive into our conversation today. I can't wait
Absolutely.
because there's so much that we need to cover.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to start out with some really encouraging statistics, and a lot of these facts are coming from Salesforce State of Marketing 2021, and they survey over 8,000 marketers across 37 countries. So we have a nice broad spectrum of insights to take a look at. But 66% of marketers expect their revenue to grow over the next 12 to 18 months. So even though we're dealing with continuing to deal with some uncertain times with the pandemic and the different variants, our the marketers that are presenting our products and services are very encouraged to see the revenue growth to continue. And along those lines, 90% of marketers say that their digital engagement strategy has changed since the pandemic began. That's probably not a surprise to people, but once again, it is really important to be buttoned up, to know what you're doing with regard to digital marketing and digital engagement, and to use the best tools to present yourself and to present your brand in the best way possible. Um, speaking of the pandemic, 75% of marketers have said that their go-to-business strategy has permanently shifted how they collaborate and communicate um, in the marketplace. So, we went through a huge change on so many levels with the pandemic, but obviously our businesses, our marketing efforts have significantly been impacted. And to that end, we see that 40% of marketers have used different data sources. And with digital, we have a wealth of information to tap into to help us make the best goals and achieve the best revenue goals that we have for 21, or I'm sorry, for 22. 21 gave us those new ways of looking at things, but let's really leverage it in 22.
Isn't it just amazing how many tools we have at our disposal these days that just 2, 3 years ago we didn't have, and a lot of it we have the pandemic to thank. I actually saw something quite funny the other day, and I thought I thought it was amazing. Someone asked a question: "What drives your digital strategy?" Was it your marketing manager? Was it your
Oh,
or was it the pandemic? And I thought that was interesting. That's very
that is,
interesting.
I'm sure that those are the two prime drivers too, because with being able to be face to face in so many levels, you have to just with your coworkers, you have to be able to really leverage a digital strategy effectively, and then to communicate and talk about what your offering is. And as businesses, we're evolving constantly what our offerings are to accommodate for this new way of life. So that's a great question. It's very interesting thought of like what is influencing that, but certainly things have changed, so let's embrace it for 22. For our next, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, it keeps you on your toes.
Mhm.
How adaptable are you to change? How quickly can you change? I think
Right.
those are things that people may not have thought about before, and sometimes we don't have the luxury of time to pivot. Sometimes we have to be able to change at a rapid pace, very, very
Absolutely.
quickly. So, how quickly can you adapt when things don't work out the way that you hoped it would?
Absolutely. Well, and I think within this digital age and digital communication, we have the opportunity to do that pivot quickly, but you have to be able to do it effectively and use the tools that you have effectively. And the access, once you take the time to just get yourself used to it, is really phenomenal and really provides quite a nice payback for you. But and
Mm,
I don't think it takes a lot of time. It takes understanding, it takes support from people that you trust and that like you, Bridgetti, with digital marketing, but the rewards are immense. So yeah, absolutely. And I think, the important thing is that what we want to do when we're thinking about our goals for 22 is to really think about take the time to go back and look at what you've done in the past, what you had set forward for 21. And 21 was obviously a year of a lot of transition. I think we had the mindset, that the pandemic was kind of weaning off, and now we're seeing that with the different variants that we're still having to adapt and think within that kind of new reality. So I would say to go back and review your 21 goals, evaluate what worked, what didn't work, where your opportunities are. The other thing is to really take a look at your target audience, because, you know, with all of this change that the whole world is going through, the target audience has evolved and changed. People have gotten more used to working online and digitally and having digital access to products and services. So to understand kind of more, perhaps the demographic of your audience hasn't changed, but how they're like accessing information or your goods or services might have changed. So to take a look back at that. And then also within, kind of doing some self reflection, conducting a SWOT analysis, strength weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of where your business is, and to understand where you are in the current market, where your opportunities are. That opportunity spot. We like to think of the strengths and opportunities as the place to focus, but when we look at the weaknesses and threats, it gives us the opportunity to really be smart about our planning. So, and then to capitalize on those opportunities. And then one of the key things is to set SMART goals, and it's a nice acronym that really means be specific about what you're looking at and how you're planning. Make sure you can measure against it to see how successful you've been. Also make it achievable as possible. It may not be exactly, the end state that you want to be at, but to set it at a place where you can achieve it, and also set it at a place where it is maybe a little bit of a stretch too. And then relevant, again, going back to your SWOT analysis and defining your target market. Is it relevant for where you are with your business and where your target market is? And then make sure it's time bound. So, within whether you're doing annual goals, if you're doing quarterly goals, to make sure that you have specific goals that you've set for those particular points of time throughout the year. And then once you've done that, it's really important to create a marketing budget so that you're not just kind of guessing as you go through the year, but setting aside those funds and saying this is specifically earmarked for marketing is super, super important.
As I was listening to you now, I was thinking, what is a good word for people in business at this time? And the thought that came to my mind was agility.
That's a great word.
How agile are you at a time of change? Because that's what we're living through right now. Just when we think we've got things down pat, there's a new challenge or variant of the
Exactly.
COVID virus that surprises us. Just when you think things are opening up, it's like, no, we're closing back down again. So how agile are you as a business in your marketing strategy to accommodate all these ever-growing changes that come
Right.
and go? That seems to be the only constant that we have at the moment is change.
That's absolutely correct. And I think you raise a really good point, because we can look at these situations as something that's depleting us or bogging us down, but to look at it as an opportunity to really change, pivot, be agile, be creative, because there's a new way of approaching business. And if we look at it as something that's exciting and an exciting challenge, then you've got the momentum of creative thinking and goodness and wanting to serve. And that's really a good place for us to be as marketers, as we can continue to move through this ever-changing world that we are living in. So thank you for that. That's a great word. I wanted to go over some of the primary marketing goal categories just to kind of help get you in the mindset of how to start to think about your goals. And they probably seem obvious, but sometimes it's necessary to point them out. But we really want to focus on increasing our profitability. So we get our revenue, but whatever our expenses are that are being spent against that revenue will create our profitability. And that's the thing we want to continue to increase. Then we also have market share. What is your piece of the market that you're working in, and how do you increase that share so that people are thinking of you top of mind? And that also goes to brand awareness and making sure that people, when they think of your products and services, they associate your brand right away with that, and building that brand awareness sometimes is a softer goal to achieve, but there's surveys, there's ways to measure that, recommendations, testimonials, that type of thing. But it is super, super important as you're trying to get to some of those more tangible measures. Also conversion rates, making sure when you are putting marketing and messaging out there that people are converting and actually purchasing and buying, and measuring what those rates are. So you can start to say, okay, is my marketing investment paying off to fulfill my brand awareness, market share, and profitability. And then, of course, we talked a little bit about satisfaction with brand awareness, but when people are satisfied and it increases, it also feeds into all of those other goals more effectively. And then also, it's really important to keep your customers loyal. Loyalty creates the least expensive way to maintain your market share, because people will come back, they will refer you, and they're loyal. They're at the cornerstone of your business. So you want to make sure that those people stay and remain happy, and having goals around that is really important as well.
Yeah, those are, important aspects that you definitely don't want to be overlooking as part of your marketing strategy.
Exactly. So one of the ways that I've found that's really effective in trying to put numbers to some of the goals that you have, because sometimes it's like, you're thinking, well, where do I start? And if you can start really with what type of revenue you want to generate for your business, then you can kind of go backwards. So in order to achieve a revenue goal, what is the number of close rates that you need to have? And let me just jump back up to the top. So if you go to the very top and say, okay, I know what my revenue generation is, or what I want to achieve, that's my goal. If I look at my total target market, which you've evaluated at the very beginning to say, what does that pie look like? And then you say, okay, from that target market, how many inquiries will my marketing achieve? So the number of people that are just either going to your website, opening your emails, listening to your live streams, or watching your live streams or podcasts. All of that is kind of like they're just starting to, think about your product and services. And then understanding from those inquiries, what are the marketing qualified leads, which is MQLs, that is on the statistics. So how many of those people that are interested are really thinking about, well, I really want that product or service. I hadn't thought about, or maybe I hadn't thought about it, or maybe now's the time for me to engage with your offerings in order to achieve their goals. And so those would be marketing qualified leads. And then actually from that, what are the number of prospects that you can actually get from that, and from those prospects, proposals that are generated. So you're actually putting together saying, well, if you're interested in this is what it will cost, or just offering a price sheet, or giving them some more information about the products and services that you have. And from that, understanding what your close rates are. How many people are actually going to buy, purchase, engage with your product or service? And then from that, you can understand what your revenue goals are. So if you go backwards, you can it's an easy way to kind of set some goals. And I always use this analogy. I don't know if you guys do this, but I'm so bad at, those mazes that you have, like you can go from point A to point B, and there's all these blocks. I always start at the end and then go backwards. It's really easy to solve that problem. So I think about setting the goals that you want for your business in that same way. So start where you want to end up, and then plan appropriately up through the beginning of the funnel.
I totally agree with you. If you work your way backwards, like what is it that you want to achieve?
Right.
Like what is the end goal? And then work your way back to how you can achieve that. I totally buy into that, because I've also found that strategy works really, really, really well.
Yeah. And I do think, I use revenue because I think revenue or even profitability are good measures of like how you stay in business. But if there's something else that is really key, if you go back to your initial goals and you set goals, like go backwards into how do you achieve those goals, so that you can start to set more. When you think about the time bound, if you're like, okay, at the end of the year, I want, 20,000 more followers, or I want to make, $50,000 profitability, then you go, okay, each quarter, how much do I have to do? What do I have to do? What kinds of campaigns do I have to engage in? Email campaigns, live streams, proposals put together, that type of thing. So it makes it it gives you a starting point from which to move backwards and set those important goals as you go through the year. So
And it's very
one of the
important,
things,
a lot of these things,
yeah,
not just for big corporates, but if you're just starting out, and if you are an entrepreneur, it's even more important to have those goals, because otherwise you're just punching the air and hoping that things will fall into place. But nothing, seldom works that way. You have
exactly.
to have some kind of a goal that you're working towards and a plan of how to get there.
Yeah, you that's another really good point, Bridgetti, because I think in small businesses and entrepreneurship, sometimes we feel like, oh, we're just happy to be doing what we love doing. And we kind of put aside some of our goal planning and for the,
Mm,
just for the passion of doing what we're doing. And in order to continue to do that, you really do have to set goals that will keep you in business and keep you thriving and growing. And so I know I have the same challenge myself, is that, setting aside that time to do some of that planning up front will help you to achieve your goals, continue doing what you love doing, and expand as well. So I recommend it. Sometimes it's not always the easiest discipline, but it does pay dividends as you go through your year planning. Um,
mm,
so I also wanted to highlight some of what we've seen as the top priorities and challenges for marketing. Again, this comes from the Salesforce State of Marketing survey. And some of them cross over, but the priorities are really continuous innovation. And again, we talked a lot about live streaming and podcasting, digital outreach, but this, we have to be mindful that this is going to be continually improving, changing. Bridgetti's going to constantly be bringing you the latest and greatest when it comes to live streaming. So it's important to be aware, pay attention, and to engage with those innovations and keep learning. And also part of that is engaging with customers real time. And that's one of the beauties of live stream, is that we get to engage with you guys. You can ask questions of us. We're real time. We're here. We're wanting to support, small businesses and help you to achieve your goals. But that's all part of, like, this isn't, send out an email or a snail mail and see what happens. You get the opportunity to really engage. And I think that's going to be something that's super important as we continue to move forward in 22. You want to make sure also that regardless of where what your plans are, that you think through the customer's journey. I do a lot of work with the University of California, Santa Barbara, with business owners and corporations planning their customer engagement strategy. And I think this is it's so important that every part of your business, regardless of whether you're a small business, if you're an enterprise, a corporation, that everyone within your organization has that customer experience in their mindset of whatever piece of the pie that they're engaging in, whether it be, accounting or billing or someone who maybe never touches the customer. What they're producing has impact. So to understand every part of the engagement strategy that your customers going through for your business is going to be really important. So to bake that in from the beginning is going to really help your business and keep your customers loyal.
That's a very important aspect, the customer journey, the user
Yes.
experience, because
Yes.
no matter how much you've put into it, if the customer experience is not good, you're going to lose your customer base. They're going to shift elsewhere. So
Yeah.
it really is an aspect that you need to pay keen attention to.
Well, I think it would be great for us to do a show about specifically about the customer journey and the customer experience and some of the challenges that, that I've seen working with the University of California, Santa Barbara, and the businesses that have come forward. A lot of it, people find that whether it be senior management or it just in their day-to-day, if it's a smaller entrepreneurial business, that you can lose sight of that. But to really keep that front and center and to understand some of the ways to in fact do that, to keep that front and center, and to make sure from the, depending on what type of business you have, from the very top to the people that are actually interacting and dealing with the customer, have a very similar focus, goal, and purpose, and understanding where their customer is within that journey. So we'll have to put that on our list of ideas to talk about.
Yeah.
Always. So along these lines, with all this information, with this engagement that's much more customizable, the customer in mind, we'll want to make sure that we're enhancing the marketing ROI and making sure that whatever marketing investment we have is paying off, which also goes back to setting those goals that tie back to what your revenue generation would be, or whatever that end goal is. ROI is associated with revenue, but could certainly be paying off whatever goals you have, making sure that your investment is paying off what your end result will be. And then finally, improving collaboration, which is, again, all about, we're in this different world, but we still really need to collaborate. And just like, Bridgetti and I are on opposite ends of the world and able to collaborate because of technology in this, in this way, in this new world, in a much different way than we ever would have been before. So leveraging all of those tools and being able to collaborate, you get talent, you get experience from such a broader pool now. And this would be one of those advantages of our situation, is that we aren't bound by geography. We can collaborate, but if we do it smartly, we do it effectively, we use the right tools, then it just improves our business, our communication, and also, our outreach to fellow business people and also to our customers as well. So those are the priorities. The challenges, some of them are the same, but they're in a little bit of a different order, and these are ordered in kind of priority. But the challenge is engaging with people real time, getting people to kind of get over that hump of how they used to engage with businesses into how they can now engage and how it can be beneficial for them. So making sure that that's laid out for them and in a way that makes sense. Continuous innovation, we all have the challenge of, we get used to the way we've done things, and to, continually be changing, adapting, sometimes is a challenge, but it is recognizing that it is a challenge, if it is for you, is the first step in achieving and getting over that hump. Again, the cohesive customer journey, it's just about really putting that into your overall goals for your organization and recognizing how important it is for your customers, seeing things through their eyes, having that empathetic view, is going to be super important, instead of just like kind of going through and doing what you've always done, and assuming that works for your client or customer. Collaboration, once again, we talked about that. And then insufficient organizational structure and processes, which is part of this evolution that we're seeing. It's a little bit of a challenge sometimes when you haven't set it up, or you haven't, done business in this new digital age. The thing is, recognize it can be a challenge, and then set forth plans to address those challenges and move forward. So a lot of it is just recognizing where you might have some pain points, and then figuring out a way to address those pain points so that you can be as successful as possible.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. So thanks for running through that, priorities and challenges, and And indeed, product service consistency maintains loyalty for sure.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So on this slide, I just wanted to really just reiterate the different ways, the communication tactics that we're seeing being used in 22. Obviously, social media. Can we talk about that digital connection? Social media is very popular. Digital ads within social media are also something that people are really engaging in. Video. Um, People love that interaction, that to see how things are done and to watch that. And I know, Bridgetti, you do a lot of that with some of your clients, demonstrating their products and services, and you do it through live stream, which is like the best of both worlds, right? And I did want to highlight the podcast live stream because while it's podcasting has been around for a while, but that isn't as engaging as the live stream where you can have that, real time communication and exchange. And of course, people can watch this after we've gone live and hopefully get some really good information and tips. But while you're here and available, it is something that is becoming more and more recognized as so effective. But it is a skill set, and I know, Bridgetti, you can attest to that. That you've worked for several years on really honing in the live stream abilities, keeping up with technology, sharing with your audiences about the nuances and the things that are up and coming. That you've tried everything, so I think it's we're really, really fortunate to have your services in helping us. But it is something, if you were thinking it was something that's big, that's on its way to get even bigger, open your eyes because it's coming. Of course, we have influencer marketing, which is, again, it all is really tying to this new importance of digital and social media. Websites and apps, always been very important. Events and sponsorships. And those are even, kind of a different animal nowadays.
Oh, yeah. I think, it was a complete mind spin when you think of how in-person events were done, and now we've shifted into hybrid events. And I
Right.
think that's going to stay because, as I mentioned
Mhm.
before, we no longer think just locally. We're now doing business globally, and that's the opportunities that hybrid offers us.
Yes, 1000%. And again, it's that, that wave of change, but it is such an opportunity to be able to engage with more people. And, and if you're thinking about from the audience perspective, you don't have to travel anywhere. You don't have to, set aside, you have more time to get to the heart and the core of what your event is about, with the time, because you're sitting down at your computer and engaging, and then you get to go, walk your dog
I
without
know,
having.
I know. My favorite thing to say to people is that, with hybrid events and online events, we're at a point where everyone, regardless of where you are and who you are, now has a front row seat to the keynote speaker. Never before did we ever have
Yep.
that opportunity.
Yes.
But it's leveled the playing field of access to really, really great minds.
Yeah, and that even opens up the discussion to some of the apps like Clubhouse and Wisdom, where you do have much more, you have access to some, you know, pretty important, influential people within those apps that you can have a direct connection with. So while those may not be traditional events, they're like 24/7 events that you can hop onto. But it's a great way to network. It's a great way to let people know about your products and services as well. But it is not a traditional event or sponsorship. And I think, even with sponsorships where you'd have your swag bags and your, some of those tangible giveaways that you would give at an event, you're going to have to get creative about the types of, sponsorship or giveaway what you're sponsoring, how you're sponsoring, and maybe it's more something that people can engage in with you online away from the particular event that you're sponsoring, or it could be something that you're sending out to people, but reinforcing that digital access. So maybe it is one of you know all, you have a drawing for a lavalier mic, and people have better access to communicating online and digitally for their own businesses. So all of these things, well, some of the stuff as we get lower on the list are things that are pretty traditional, but thinking about it in a new, refreshed way. We're looking at email. People get email all the time. How do you create something that stands out? How do you tie it into some of the previous mentioned tactics that we're talking about? Also, direct mail. I still get a lot of direct mail in my mailbox, which it always astounds me. I'll tell you one thing it's kind of interesting. I have a daughter that is a senior in high school, and she's going to be going to college next year. And we are getting a ton of solicitations from universities for her to go to that university. And it's amazing. And I find myself even almost a little bit shamed or shocked. But the universities that do the outreach, that have a well put together, good information, raising the curiosity, because kids can't go on campus as much as they used to. It impresses me. Now, I know I'm a marketer, so I'm looking at their collateral, I'm looking at their pictures, their images, but I'm also looking at how within that medium they're engaging me and my daughter in a way that's digital, so that we can have access to the campuses, to the dormitories, to the food services, to the experience that they can provide. But that engagement from a snail mail, old fashioned, it is engaging. And I've been surprised at how much in that particular instance, about how much that can create a differentiation between schools. So just a sideline example of that. Print
Well,
advertising.
before you
Yeah.
move on to the next one, I was just thinking as I was listening to you, things I've seen that were innovative in terms of events and sponsorships that I just thought was completely different and sort of like, out of the box thinking. I've had some events where what they've done is, I mean, there's a lot of savings in online
Yeah.
events. And so what I've seen some of them do is, for example, they would send an Uber Eats voucher to attendees.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
you
That's a
know,
great example.
to have a meal. And
Mm-hmm.
then the other thing that I've seen them do is that they would send out, um, they would send out swag via courier to
Yeah.
attendees. And the great thing about sending out your swag that way is that you can ask all of your attendees to do a short video about them unboxing their
Yes.
swag. So, what does that
Yes.
do? Two things. One, it extends the longevity of your event because you're going to either have people do unboxings of their swag prior to the event, so raising the level of awareness before the event. And for people who get it later, who do that after the event, it's also going to extend the reach of your event because it means people are going to be talking about your event before and after. Either way, it's going to be for a much longer period than if you just did the event as a one-off or one-day thing. So I think those are huge opportunities for companies to use swag in a very, very creative manner.
Absolutely. And it also engages, you do feel more of that connection. If I've had events where that I participated in, and you know, they say, okay, open this envelope now, and everybody's doing it, and you're all on, perhaps all on a Zoom or something, and everybody's opening it, and everybody, there may be a prize, but it's much more interactive as well. So you're right, the prior to the event and the post the event, and then also the engagement during the event is heightened as well. It creates some of that that atmosphere of togetherness. But you do raise a great point, because those events oftentimes have longer lives because they're recorded and people can engage with them after the event has happened. So again, we can look at it many different ways of how we've been shifted and forced to shift. But if we look at the opportunities and the benefits, I know for me, it gets my creative juices going, and I just love it. It's like, okay, well, how can I do this better? Or what can I do that's, smarter or more engaging? I think that's really cool. And we're forever changed, regardless of, what happens in the world. We're forever changed. And I think that's a good thing. We're continuing to grow and offer better, more effective products and services through this because we're challenged.
Absolutely. I was just
Yeah.
thinking, if you were hosting an event and you send everyone branded earphones, for example, how
Yeah.
cool is
It's
that?
wonderful.
Everyone has to use earphones.
Yep. You're absolutely right. And those are the things, like, if you start thinking of it from, the contrast of like, okay, this might be different and I might be uncomfortable, but how can I leverage this to really keep top of mind and, keep people engaged? There's so many opportunities now. So I think I love that idea of the headphones. I think we're both doing an event pretty soon. Maybe we should suggest that speaking at an event for our books. Perhaps. Then we just basically, I wanted to list out, as we're thinking about planning, some of the traditional communication tactics. Print advertising, radio, TV, and out of home are obviously still effective and can be effective depending on how you're planning for it. So if you're doing something that's a little bit more geographically central, some of that radio spots, maybe cable TV, a billboard, or a bus, what are those called? Bus shelters, for out of home, would be effective for some local community events. So it's not that those are gone. They're just going to be used at the right point in time in the right type of business that you have. So I wanted to make sure to if you're, and I wanted to bring this forward too, for people to think about how, the different ways they can communicate. And then I did want to do also one more bit of statistics about these different ways that people are communicating. That this is, again, from the Salesforce marketing study, just to kind of get a sense of the resurgence or the surgence of the digital marketing. Pre-produced videos, this is the percent of marketers using or intending to use. And these statistics were actually broken up by use or intend to use. I would say the majority of these statistics are using currently. Like if you see 94%, 75% are currently using it. But you see really super high statistics of this is the wave of the future. Influencer marketing is huge. Live stream video, there's our Bridgetti up there on the innovation wave. 92%. So people, businesses, organizations are really understanding the power of that mode of communication. Interactive content, which, we're talking about with the live stream. These tactics definitely overact. Social gifts and images, again, it's all social media. Virtual customer communities, we're talking about Facebook groups where people can have a smaller subsection and come together with similar likes and needs and communication and collaboration. Pre-produced audio, like your
Can I just
podcasting?
say something on that virtual community, virtual customer communities? Um,
Absolutely.
you know, it is community spirit is huge, as you can see, 86%. But
Yes.
just a warning there that you need to look at putting your communities onto a platform that you own, your own platform.
Yes.
Facebook, as great as it has been, does not
Mhm.
belong to you and I. It's rented
Right.
land. And I have seen so many business owners literally break down and cry because they've had communities that they've fostered for 5, 10,
Mm.
and more years. And, due to oftentimes a glitch in the artificial intelligence, people have lost
Mhm.
huge entire communities in a flash.
Right.
So be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful. Do not rely on a third party host for your communities. Try and move your communities onto your own websites. And if this is something that you're interested in, I do have a solution that I can recommend. So reach out to me, but be very careful on being solely reliant on something like Facebook that you can't control.
That's an excellent point, and I do think, people, because it's a easy way to get used to having, to behaving, if you will, with a group and communicating. But if you kind of put all your eggs in one basket, it can be risky. So yeah, I would highly recommend talking to Bridgetti. Again, she has she has the knowledge and experience and also the products to recommend. So definitely leverage that in all of these aspects. Again, just talking about the pre-produced audio, live audio, and then virtual experiences and up and comer, which I think is again something that overlaps with your live stream because of some of the clients that you have you're able to interact very real time with your products and services. So that expansion of live stream and how you use it will continue to grow. So that I also wanted to raise that as an up and comer because it's not quite yet in the 80%, but it will be, I bet, by 23.
So I want to touch on something now. I've noticed that you have very, very recently released a course, a marketing course. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Bridgetti. It's called the Marketing Makeover Masterclass. And actually, what I've done, I used to do it one-on-one. And what I've realized is that people really enjoy kind of taking the work. So I put together a series of chapters, starting with laying your vision, your mission, all the way to launching and maintaining your brand. So naming and packaging and pricing, all are parts of that particular tool. And now you can just go and download that directly from my website. And it's a course you take. It's a self-taught course, and it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm always available for any questions that people have, and my contact information is within the course. But you can find that at lockhart-marketing.com, and certainly take a look at that. Thank you so much, Bridgetti, for bringing that forward, because over the holiday break, I did really want to take some time to refine that and make it a course that was something that people can, when they're starting to think a little bit more about being strategic about their marketing, this is an excellent and very low cost way to get some good tips and exercises to help you think about your business. So thank you.
It's a pleasure. And I want to just say a huge, huge, huge big thanks to our audience who's joined us today. over on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Amazon Live. It has been amazing, as always, to have you interact with us during the show. So, a huge big shout out to each one of you. It was amazing seeing you. Thank you for staying with us for the past hour. Appreciated this time and hope that you've enjoyed the marketing tips that we've shared. And we'll be back in 2 weeks' time with another episode
Absolutely.
of Beyond the Logo. So for now, from me, Bridgetti Limband in Cape Town in South Africa, it's goodbye. Stay safe. Until next time.
Happy New Year.